Hi everyone, welcome to Emma, a true infidelity story. I'm excited to share a new story with you. As I place another book on the shelf, my fingers linger on the worn spine, the title barely visible through the dust jacket. The library is my sanctuary, a place where time seems to slow down, allowing me to escape into the lives of others through the pages of these books. But today my thoughts are not on the stories within these covers. They are on the story of my own life, a narrative I've kept hidden even from myself. I glance at my watch, a simple silver piece that Jack gave me on our 5th anniversary. It's nearly time for him to call a routine we've established to bridge the distance his work often creates between us. But today I dread that call. Not for what he might say, but for what I might reveal. The secret I've been keeping isn't about an affair, not in the traditional sense. It's about the emotional affair I've been having, not with another person, but with the idea of freedom, of a life unencumbered by the expectations of marriage. Every day, as I walk through the aisles of books, I imagine scenarios where I'm not Heather the librarian, but someone else, someone living a life of adventure, of passion, of choices not made out of comfort but out of desire. This secret started innocuous enough. A book, one of those romance novels with a cover so cliché, it almost made me laugh, caught my eye. It was about a woman who left everything behind for a chance at true love. I read it in one sitting, the words igniting a fire within me, a yearning for something more than the predictable rhythm of my days. Jack, with his gentle eyes and his predictable patterns, represents everything stable in my life. Yet as I watch him through the video call, his face framed by the glow of his computer screen, I feel a chasm growing. He talks about his day, about the bugs he fixed, the new feature he implemented, and smile. But my mind is elsewhere. It's on the what-ifs, the could-have-beens, the life I might have led if I had chosen differently. The emotional affair with my own desires has been subtle, creeping up like the ivy on the library walls. It's not about another man. It's about the absence of Jack in my emotional landscape. I've started to see our life together, not as a partnership, but as a series of roles we play for each other. I'm the supportive wife, he's the dependable husband. And somewhere along the line we've forgotten to be individuals to chase our own dreams. This realization hit me hardest one evening when Jack was away at a conference. I found myself alone in our home, the silence deafening. Cody, sensing my unease, rested his head on my lap, his eyes full of concern. In that moment I whispered to him, "What if I'm not happy? Cody, what if this isn't enough?" The cute dog, of course, offered no answers, but his presence was a comfort, a reminder of the simple joys that still existed in my life. As the days turned into weeks, my secret grew heavier. I began to see signs everywhere, in the books I recommended, in the conversations I overheard, in the glances I caught from patrons who seemed to live lives full of excitement. Each interaction felt like a nudge, a whisper from the universe asking, "What are you waiting for, Heather?" The library, once my haven, now felt like a cage of my own making. The books, with their tales of escape and transformation, became both my solace and my torment. They showed me possibilities, but they also highlighted the stark contrast between the life I was living and the life I was dreaming of. Jack's calls became more of a ritual than a connection. I listened, but my heart wasn't in it. I started to wonder if he noticed the change. If he felt the same distance I did. Did he too dream of a different life when he stared at his screen, lost in his code? This secret, this longing for something undefined, something more, has become the silent third party in our marriage. It's not about infidelity in the physical sense, but the emotional betrayal of not sharing my true feelings, of living a half-truth. And now, as I stand here, surrounded by the quiet whispers of the library, I realized that this secret could change everything. It's not just about whether I should tell Jack or keep this to myself. It's about what I'm willing to do next. Will I continue to live in this silent narrative, or will I find the courage to rewrite our story? The day started like any other. I woke up to the sound of Jack's alarm, his side of the bed already cold. He had left early for a meeting, leaving me with the comforting warmth of Cody, who nuzzled against me, his tail thumping softly. After breakfast, I headed to the library, where the routine of cataloging and organizing books provided a temporary escape from my thoughts. At work, I received a call from Jack. His voice strained with the stress of his job. He mentioned he might be late again, and I felt the familiar pang of loneliness. That evening, I decided to surprise him with a special dinner, hoping to bridge the gap that had been widening between us. I spent the afternoon meticulously preparing a meal that would remind him of our early days together. When every moment felt like an adventure, the kitchen was filled with the aroma of rosemary and garlic as I roasted a chicken, the scent mingling with the sweet notes of a berry compote I was making for dessert. Each dish was a piece of my heart, a silent plea for connection. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through our kitchen window, I set the table with our best china, the one we used for special occasions. I lit candles, their flames dancing in the gentle evening breeze, creating shadows that flickered across the walls. Everything was perfect, a scene straight out of a romance novel, the kind I often read but never seemed to live. Then, as I was placing a last fork, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Jack, but it wasn't what I expected. "I'm so sorry, Heather, something urgent came up at work. I won't be able to make it home for dinner. I'll grab something here." My heart sank the carefully crafted evening. The effort to reignite our connection felt like it was crumbling before it even began. I stood there, the weight of the untouched meal pressing down on me, the candles now mocking me with their cheerful light. In that moment of disappointment, I decided not to let the evening go to waste. I called my friend Laura, someone who always knew how to lift my spirits. She agreed to come over, and within an hour she was there, her laughter filling the space that Jack's absence had left empty. We ate, we talked, and for a while I forgot about the chasm in my marriage. Laura, ever perceptive, noticed the tension in my smile. "What's really going on, Heather?" she asked, her voice gentle but probing. I hesitated, the words caught in my throat. But then, with the encouragement of the wine and the comfort of her presence, I began to share, not everything, not the full extent of my emotional turmoil, but enough to let her know I was struggling. As we cleared the dishes, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. I glanced at the clock. It was late for visitors. With a puzzled look, I opened the door to find a woman standing there, her face flushed, her eyes wide with urgency. "Is Jack here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "No, he's not," I replied, my heart beginning to race. "Can I help you?" She took a deep breath, her gaze dropping to the ground before meeting mine again. "I'm sorry to just show up like this, but I need to talk to him." It's important. The air around us seemed to thicken with unspoken words. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, though I feared I already knew the answer. "I'm his colleague," she said. But there was more to it, a hesitancy that spoke volumes. "I think there's something you should know." The evening, which had started with such promise, was now unraveling in ways I hadn't anticipated. My mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Here was the unexpected event, not just disrupting my plans for a romantic evening, but potentially shattering the very foundation of my marriage. As the mystery woman stood before me, her presence felt like a cold drought sweeping through the warm Calvet room. Her eyes, filled with a mix of fear and urgency, locked onto mine, searching for something I wasn't sure I could give. "I'm sorry to intrude like this," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know where else to go. I stepped back, allowing her into the house, my mind racing with questions. "Please come in," I said, my voice steady, despite the turmoil inside me. "What's your name?" "Lily," she replied, stepping inside, her gaze sweeping over the dinner setup, the candles, the untouched meal. "I work with Jack." I think there's something you need to know." The room seemed to shrink as Lily's words hung in the air. Laura, sensing the gravity of the situation, excused herself, offering a supportive squeeze on my shoulder before leaving us alone. "What is it, Lily?" I asked, my heart pounding in my C********. Lily took a deep breath, her hands nervously clasping and unclasping. "Jack and we've been working late together a lot. But it's not just work. There's been more. I didn't want to come here, but I couldn't keep this to myself anymore." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. My vision blurred for a moment, the edges of my sight tinged with darkness more. I managed to say the word, tasting bitter on my tongue. "Yes," Lily continued, her voice trembling. It started as just late nights, but then feelings got involved. I thought it was mutual, but tonight he told me he couldn't do this anymore. He said he needed to focus on his marriage on you. The irony wasn't lost on me here. I was contemplating my own escape, my own desires, while Jack was entangled in a situation I hadn't even considered. The emotional affair I was having with my dreams felt trivial, now overshadowed by the real tangible betrayal. I didn't mean for this to happen, Lily said, tears welling up in her eyes. I just thought you should know. I'm sorry, Heather. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. The silence stretched between us, filled with the weight of unspoken words and shattered expectations. Thank you for telling me, Lily. I finally said, my voice hollow. I need some time to process this. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. I'll leave you alone again, I'm so sorry. As Lily left, the door closing behind her felt like the final nail in the coffin of my marriage. I stood there, the candles still flickering their light, now seeming more like a mockery than a beacon of hope. The house felt empty, the silence deafening. I walked over to the table, my fingers brushing against the cool china, the untouched food now a symbol of my shattered plans. The dinner I had prepared with such care was now a testament to the illusion of our relationship. I sat down, the chair creaking under me, and stared at the empty seat across from me, where Jack should have been. The reality of his absence, both physical and emotional, was palpable. Cody, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, came over, his tail no longer wagging. He rested his head on my lap, his eyes full of concern. I stroked his fur, finding some comfort in his warmth. My mind replayed the evening, from the anticipation of a romantic dinner to this moment of stark revelation. The emotional affair I had been having with my own desires seemed trivial, now a mere shadow compared to the betrayal that had just been unveiled. I knew I had to confront Jack, but not tonight. Tonight I needed to gather my thoughts to understand the depth of my feelings, not just about Jack's actions, but about my own. The library, my sanctuary, had shown me the lives of others, but now I needed to look into my own life to decide what I truly wanted. The candles burned lower, their light dimming as if in sync with my fading hope. I blew them out one by one, the room plunging into darkness, mirroring the uncertainty in my heart. As I sat there in the quiet of our home, I realized that the story of my life was not just about escaping into books or dreaming of freedom. It was about facing the truth, about making choices that would define not just my future, but the essence of who I was. The night stretched on, and with each passing moment I felt a resolve building within me. Tomorrow I would speak with Jack. Tomorrow I would decide the next chapter of our story. But tonight I would sit with my thoughts, with Cody by my side, and contemplate the path forward. The dinner was set, the candles were lit, and the aroma of roasted chicken filled the house. But tonight the house was filled with more than just the scent of a meal. It was filled with the scent of change. After the incident, I was in a daze. I cleaned up the dinner, my hands shaking, my mind replaying the event over and over. Jack came home late, his face tired but lit up with a smile when he saw the effort I had put into the evening. I tried to act normal, but inside I was crumbling. The next few days were a blur. I avoided being alone with Cody, my guilt manifesting in avoidance. Jack noticed my change in behavior, asking if everything was all right. I lied, saying I was just stressed from work, but the truth was eating me alive, and I knew I couldn't keep it bottled up forever. Will Heather confess her secret to Jack? Or will it remain her dark burden? The days stretched into a week, each one feeling heavier than the last. I found myself at the library, my sanctuary, but even the comfort of the books couldn't shield me from the storm brewing within the shelves. Once a source of escape now seemed to mock me with tales of love and betrayal, of secrets and revelations. I was cataloging a new shipment of books when my phone buzzed. It was Jack, his message simple: "Can we talk tonight? I feel like something's off." My heart skipped a beat. Was he sensing my turmoil? Or was this about his own guilt? I replied with a terse "sure," my fingers trembling. As I typed that evening, I prepared for the confrontation, or rather the confession. The house was quiet, the only sound being Cody's soft snoring from his bed. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Lily had stood, her confession hanging in the air like a specter. I rehearsed what I might say, how I might explain the emotional affair I had been having with the idea of a different life. But every scenario ended with Jack's hurt, his confusion. When Jack walked through the door, his face was a mask of concern. He kissed me on the cheek, his touch feeling foreign, as if it belonged to another life. "What's been going on, Heather?" he asked, his voice gentle but probing. I took a deep breath, the words I had rehearsed now seeming inadequate. "Jack, there's something I need to tell you." I began, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's not about another person, but it's about me, about us." He sat down, his eyes searching mine for answers. "What is it?" "Heather, I've been feeling trapped." I admit it, the words tasting like betrayal in our life. In our routine, I've been imagining a different path. One where I'm not just the supportive wife, but someone chasing her own dreams. Jack's face fell, a mix of confusion and hurt. "You've been unhappy, not unhappy, just unfulfilled." I clarified, feeling the weight of my confession. "And then when Lily came here, it felt like my own secrets were trivial compared to what you've been hiding." His eyes widened, the color draining from his face. "Lily told you?" "Yes," I said, my voice steadied despite the storm inside. "And I realized that while I've been dreaming of freedom, you've been living a lie." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken words. Jack looked down, his hands clasping and unclasping on the table. "I didn't mean for it to happen. Heather, it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, but it did happen." I countered, the reality of our situation settling in. "And now we're both standing here with our secrets out in the open." He reached for my hand, but I pulled back, not ready for comfort. "I need time, Jack, time to think about what I want, what we want. This isn't just about your affair. It's about us, about whether we can rebuild from this." Jack nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "I understand, I'll give you space. But please know, I want to fix this, to make things right." As he left the room, the space between us felt like a chasm. I sat there, the candles from that ill-fated dinner now cold, their wax hardened into twisted shapes. The house felt different, the air charged with the potential for change or collapse. I walked over to the window, looking out into the night. The street was quiet, the world outside, oblivious to the turmoil within. My reflection in the glass showed a woman at a crossroads, her life at a pivotal moment. The decision loomed large, to confront the truth head-on, or to retreat into the safety of silence. I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were, not after tonight, the library. My escape had shown me countless stories of transformation. But now I needed to write my own. Cody, sensing my distress, came over, his head resting on my lap. I stroked his fur, finding solace in his simple, unconditional love. "What do we do now, Cody?" I whispered, knowing the answer lay within me, not in the comfort of a cute dog's gaze. The night stretched on, and with each passing moment, I felt the resolve building. Tomorrow, I would decide. Tomorrow, I would either begin the process of healing our marriage, or take the first steps towards a new life. But tonight I would sit with my thoughts, with Cody by my side, and contemplate the path forward. The dinner was set, the candles were lit, and the aroma of change filled the house. Tonight, the house was filled with more than just the scent of a meal. It was filled with the scent of transformation. The tension reached its peak one evening when Jack, concerned, insisted we talk, sitting on our couch with Cody lying at our feet. I felt the weight of my secret pressing down on me. Jack's eyes were full of love and concern, and I knew I couldn't lie to him anymore. With tears streaming down my face, I confessed everything. The room fell silent. The only sound was Cody's soft breathing. Jack's face went through a myriad of emotions: shock, disbelief, and then a profound sadness. He stood up, walked to the window, and looked out into the night. His back to me, his shoulders tense. "I've been feeling trapped," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "In our life, in our routine, I've been imagining a different path. One where I, not just the supportive wife, but someone chasing her own dreams." Jack turned around slowly, his expression one of confusion and hurt. "You've been unhappy?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Not unhappy, just unfulfilled," I clarified, feeling the weight of my confession. "And then when Lily came here, it felt like my own secrets were trivial compared to what you've been hiding." His eyes widened, the color draining from his face. "Lily told you?" "Yes," I said, my voice steadied despite the storm inside. And I realized that while I've been dreaming of freedom, you've been living a lie. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken words. Jack looked down, his hands clasping and unclasping on the table. I didn't mean for it to happen. Heather, it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, but it did happen. I countered the reality of our situation settling in. And now we're both standing here with our secrets out in the open. He reached for my hand, but I pulled back, not ready for comfort. I need time, Jack, time to think about what I want, what we want. This isn't just about your affair. It's about us, about whether we can rebuild from this. Jack nodded, his eyes filled with regret. I understand, I'll give you space. But please know, I want to fix this to make things right. As he left the room, the space between us felt like a chasm. I sat there, the candles from that ill-fated dinner now cold, their wax hardened into twisted shapes. The house felt different, the air charged with the potential for change or collapse. I walked over to the window, looking out into the night. The street was quiet, the world outside oblivious to the turmoil within. My reflection in the glass showed a woman at a crossroads, her life at a pivotal moment. The decision loomed large, to confront the truth head-on, or to retreat into the safety of silence. I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were, not after night the library. My escape had shown me countless stories of transformation, but now I needed to write my own. Cody, sensing my distress, came over, his head resting on my lap. I stroked his fur, finding solace in his simple, unconditional love. What do we do now, Cody? I whispered, knowing the answer lay within me, not in the comfort of a cute dog's gaze. The night stretched on, and with each passing moment, I felt the resolve building. Tomorrow, I would decide. Tomorrow, I would either begin the process of healing our marriage, or take the first steps towards a new life. But tonight I would sit with my thoughts, with Cody by my side, and contemplate the path forward. The dinner was set, the candles were lit, and the aroma of change filled the house. Tonight, the house was filled with more than just the scent of a meal. It was filled with the scent of transformation, days turned into weeks, and the silence between Jack and Meiger. Each morning I woke up to the cold side of the bed, a stark reminder of the distance that had grown between us. I continued my routine at the library, but now every book seemed to whisper about choices, about the courage to change one's life. Jack tried to bridge the gap. He'd leave notes on the kitchen counter, small gestures of love and regret. I miss you. One would say, I'm here when you're ready to talk. Another would read, but the words felt hollow, the paper a poor substitute for the connection we had lost. One evening, as I was closing the library, Laura came by. She had been my rock through this ordeal, her presence a balm to my frayed nerves. How are you holding up? She asked, her eyes searching mine for the truth. I'm trying, I replied, my voice tinged with uncertainty. I keep thinking about what Jack said about wanting to fix things. But how do you fix something when the foundation is cracked? Laura nodded, understanding in her gaze. You can't build on a broken foundation. Heather, you either repair it, or you find a new place to start. Her words echoed in my mind. As I returned home, the house was quiet, the only sound, the ticking of the clock, a relentless reminder of time. Moving forward, I sat at the kitchen table where the confrontation had taken place, and stared at the empty chair across from me. The next day I decided to meet Jack at a neutral place, a small cafe we used to frequent in our early days. He was already there when I arrived, his face a mix of hope and apprehension. We ordered our usual drinks, a silent acknowledgement of the past we shared. I've been thinking a lot. I started, my hands wrapped around the warmth of my coffee cup. About us, about what we've become. Jack leaned forward, his eyes earnest. I've been thinking too. Heather, I know I've hurt you, and I'm sorry. I want to understand what you've been going through, what you need. I took a deep breath, the words I had rehearsed now seeming inadequate. I've been feeling like I've lost myself in our marriage. I've been living for us, not for me. And when I found out about Lily, it felt like the last piece of my identity was being taken away. He nodded, his face etched with pain. I never wanted to hurt you. I was lost too in my own way. Work. The pressure, it all got to me. I thought I could find something outside of us. But it was a mistake. The cafe around us buzzed with life, but our corner felt like a bubble isolated from the world. I believe you. Jack, I said. But belief isn't enough. We need to decide if we can rebuild, if we can find each other again. He reached across the table, his hand hovering before gently touching mine. I want to try, Heather. I want to find a way back to you. To us, the touch was tentative, a question rather than an answer. I looked at his hand, then into his eyes, searching for the man I married, the man I thought I knew. I need time, Jack, time to see if I can forgive, if I can trust again. And I need you to be patient, to give me space to find my own path. Even if it's not with you. He withdrew his hand, understanding the weight of my words. I'll wait. Heather, I'll do whatever it takes. As we left the cafe, the air outside felt different, charged with the possibility of change. I walked home alone, the streets echoing with the footsteps of my resolve. The library, my sanctuary, awaited me, its shelves lined with stories of love, loss, and redemption. Tonight I would not escape into those stories. Tonight I would write my own, starting with a decision to heal, to explore, to possibly forgive. The path forward was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it was mine to choose. Cody greeted me at the door, his tail wagging, his eyes full of love. I knelt down, embracing him, feeling his warmth against the cold uncertainty of my heart. We'll figure this out together, won't we, boy? I whispered, knowing that with each step I was not alone. The house, once a symbol of our shared life, now stood as a testament to change. The candles from that dinner now just stubs were a reminder of what was and what could be. Tomorrow I would decide, but tonight I would sit with my thoughts, with Cody by my side, and contemplate the path forward. The dinner was set, the candles were lit, and the aroma of transformation filled the house. Tonight the house was filled with more than just the scent of a meal. It was filled with the scent of a new beginning. The days following my confession were the hardest. Jack moved out temporarily, needing space to process what had happened. Our home felt empty without him, and even Cody seemed to sense the change. His usual exuberance dimmed. The silence in the house was oppressive, each room echoing with the absence of our shared life. I sought therapy, trying to understand my actions, the loneliness, and the guilt. The therapist's office became another sanctuary, where I could dissect the layers of my emotions without the weight of judgment. Each session was a step towards understanding myself, but also a reminder of the pain I had inflicted. Jack and I started attending couples counseling, where we navigated through the pain, betrayal, and the possibility of forgiveness. It was a long, arduous journey, but slowly we began to rebuild trust. The sessions were raw, filled with tears and moments of silence that spoke volumes. We learned to communicate not just about our grievances, but about our hopes, our fears, and the dreams we had once shared. Cody remained with me, a constant reminder of my mistake, but also of the love and companionship that had always been there. His presence was a balm, his loyalty unwavering. I would often find myself talking to him, sharing my thoughts, my regrets, and my aspirations for what could come next. Our marriage, once on the brink, found new ground, not perfect but real, with scars that told a story of survival and the complexity of human emotions. We started to redefine what our relationship meant to us, moving away from the roles we had played for each other towards something more authentic, more vulnerable. Will Heather and Jack's marriage survive this ordeal, or will it be the end of their life together? The question haunted me, a shadow over every attempt at reconciliation. Each time Jack came over to pick up some of his things, or to discuss our next counseling session, I searched his eyes for signs of his true feelings. Was there still love there, or was it just the remnants of habit? One evening, as the autumn leaves began to fall, painting our neighborhood in hues of orange and gold, Jack suggested a walk. The air was crisp, and the setting sun cast long shadows across the path. We walked in silence at first, Cody trotting ahead, his tail wagging, oblivious to the tension between us. I've been thinking a lot. Jack began, his voice steady but soft, about us, about what we've been through. I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. Me too, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. He stopped, turning to face me, his expression earnest. I want to try, Heather. I want to see if we can find our way back to each other, not just for the sake of what was, but for what could be. The sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability. It was all there, but trust, once broken, was not easily mended. I want that too, I admitted, but I'm scared, Jack. Scared of going back to how things were, scared of not being able to move forward. He took my hand, his touch gentle. I know, and I'm scared too. But maybe if we're both willing to work at it, to be honest with each other, we can build something new, something better. We continued our walk, the conversation flowing more freely. Now we talked about our fears, our expectations, and the small steps we could take to rebuild. It wasn't about erasing the past, but learning from it, using it as a foundation for something stronger. As we returned home, the house no longer felt like a mausoleum of our past life. It was becoming a space of potential, of healing. Jack stayed for dinner, and we cooked together, a simple act that felt like a ritual of renewal. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of herbs and spices, laughter, and the soft clicking of utensils. Cody, sensing the shift in atmosphere, was more animated, his tail wagging furiously as he watched us, perhaps understanding that something was changing for the better. After dinner, we sat on the couch, the space between us less like a chasm and more like a bridge being built. I've been reading this book, I said, pulling out a novel from the library. It's about a couple who, after years of being together, decide to travel the world to rediscover themselves and each other. Jack smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. Maybe we should do that, not the world, but maybe a trip, just us away from everything. The idea sparked something in me, a flicker of hope. Maybe, I echoed, feeling the warmth of possibility that night as Jack left. There was a promise in his goodbye, not just of seeing each other at the next session, but of a future where we could be more than what we had been. I watched him drive away, the taillights disappearing into the night, and I felt a resolve within me. The journey was far from over, and the path was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt we were walking it together, not apart. Cody nuzzled against me and I whispered to him, "We're going to be okay, aren't we, boy?" His response was a lick on my hand, a simple gesture that spoke of unconditional love and the promise of tomorrow. The house, once filled with the scent of change, now held the aroma of hope, of a new beginning. The candles from that dinner, now just stubs, were a reminder of what was, and what could be tomorrow. We would decide. But tonight I would sit with my thoughts, with Cody by my side, and contemplate the path forward. The dinner was set, the candles were lit, and the aroma of transformation filled the house. Tonight, the house was filled with more than just the scent of a meal. It was filled with the scent of a new beginning. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks.